And this is going to be a deep dive. Long Way Coop on Twitter did ask, how has the depth competition increased from last year? And you know what? I think this is a good time as we're heading into fall camp. Let's quickly take a look position by position and look at the depth competition. Quarterback, we know this one's easy. Graham Mertz is the guy. It's second year for him. You're backed up by Lagway and Clay Millen. It's overall better depth compared to last season. Mertz in his second year. Lagway is going to me, still be, and I think much better in his first season than a second-year Max Brown. And Clay Millen does have experience starting at Colorado State. So as far as competition goes, probably not there much. It is Mertz's team. It is Mertz's offense. Lagway will get some run. But as far as being a competition, no, that's not there. But it is a deeper group than last year. So competition-wise, no, probably not. But overall, a much deeper group. Running back, I'd say the deepest position with the most potential. We all know Montrell Johnson is the guy, but what happens behind him? Trayon Webb likely gets first crack at running back too, but he will certainly be pushed by Jaden Ball, Katie Daniels, Jacoby Jackson, maybe, just maybe Cam Carroll. You know, we'll see, hearing some conflicting things going on there, if he'll be back or not this year. And it could be really running back by committee or roll with a hot hand with the guys behind Johnson. So the question is there to me, running back 2, and can the explosiveness be there without Trevor Etienne? That's the questions. That's the questions of that group. But so many names. I think the group is much deeper than it was last year. So competition for that running back 2 spot is really going to make that room better. Wide receiver. You got to replace Ricky Pearsall, but the rest of the cast is back. Led by Trey Wilson. You bring in impact transfers, Chimere DK, Elijah Badger, and I know most people want that to be the starting 3. I don't know if it's going to be that way when fall camp starts. I will admit, during the season, I expect it to be that way. You do have Khalil Jackson returning. He'll be in that starting group along with Wilson and DK to start camp, I believe. But then you have to think, if we go down this, we're talking about depth here, you got to think this is a make-or-break year for Marcus Burke. If it's ever going to happen, this got to be this year, and his name is being brought up a whole lot behind the scenes. And then there's even more depth with second years, Andy Jean, Aiden Mizell, redshirt freshman there, and then freshman Tank Hawkins, TJ Abrams coming in. TJ Abrams getting a whole lot of love. Hawkins was getting that love in the spring. This is a much deeper group, a much more competitive group compared to last year. Just based, you got the transfers coming in, the players returning like Trey Wilson, and then the players returning that didn't get much play last year that really should raise the competition level. So yeah, the depth here, more competitive than it was last year as well. Should make that group better. Now, it's hard to say Ricky Pearsall leaves and the group gets better, but you bring in Elijah Badger for that. You bring in a Chimere DK for that. And then you hope you develop some of that talent to help make up for that. But can some of that also be erased by a second-year Trey Wilson? He's going to be better than he was last year. So I think it's at least baseline as good as last year. Now, they got to get better in beating some coverages and help Graham Mertz out there. I fully admit that, but that's where I talk about the potential of that. So many guys returning, it should help. Much of the depth storyline at tight end will be the health of Keon Zipperer. Just don't know his availability at this time. I know we've seen some favorable things on social media, but we'll see what that means. If he can ever be and if he is, can he even be the same player coming back? Still think he'll be behind Arlis Boardingham for the most part, but maybe certain packages where Zipperer is out there, Boardingham's out there, if Zipperer is ready to go. And now you can insert in that group freshman Amir Jackson into the mix. So just because of that, it's deeper at that H spot, but no experience just because it's deeper. It is deeper because you get Zipperer back. Some experience there in that first year with Billy Napier. Boardingham. So you can say in some experience, but for Amir Jackson himself, no experience. So he gives you a body, but not the experience. And then at the Y spot, Hayden Hansen, that's his spot, of course, took that over from Dante Lang last year. That was a win for Florida because now Hayden Hansen should be better building off of that. Tony Livingston, Caleb Rios. Rios probably looks to redshirt at some point this year, maybe playing his 4 games, but redshirt. They round out that group. So more depth overall at tight end, but injury and experience questions do live there. The offensive line, this one's tricky too because the numbers are much better than they were, but experience is severely lacking behind that starting group. Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon probably starts at right tackle, backed up by Caden Jones, who hasn't played a snap yet. And then some reports that he may be pushing for that starting job. Damian George moving back inside to right guard. Like I said, played that shuffle at Bama a little bit from tackle and guard. He is moving inside the guard this fall, of course. Backed up by the injury-riddled Cam Waits and Bryce Lovett. Bryce Lovett was getting a whole lot of love in the spring, but he hasn't played it down. Jake Slaughter at center, backed up by Roderick Kearney and Jason Zandamela. So Slaughter a ton of snaps, but behind him, nothing. Najee Harris at left guard, backed up by Christian Williams, Marcus Mascall. So Harris, as a true freshman last year, plenty of snaps, but behind him, not much. Left tackle will be the deepest with snap counts. Got Austin Barber, Devin Manuel playing a ton of snaps, playing a ton of SEC snaps. Now Devin Manuel at Arkansas, of course. Fletcher Westfall behind them. So you have 2 players who have played a lot of football. Austin Barber back healthy. How much of a competition will it be in the fall, since we're talking about competition here as well? So the competition mostly, I think, going to be behind the starting group. But as I mentioned, some of those young players, like a Caden Jones, there's some talk that he could push. Bryce Lovett could push. So you got some young guys who have gotten that moniker, could push for some starting time, playing time, but still not a lot of experience past that first group, first 6 guys there. So a good bit of starting experience for the starters, but a huge drop-off in snaps played behind that. Deeper than last season, not much experience past the starters. I do think it's a better spot than it was last season, but not by much as far as experience goes. Hopefully your competition, because of the bodies, makes a difference up front. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Let's start at edge. Let's start to go with the F spot. Much deeper group this year. Should be some great competition. At this F spot, once Justice Boone went down with the injury last fall camp, Florida had to slide out Tyreek Sapp to fill that void. Sapp will stay there. Boone comes back, giving Florida 2 starter types at the spot. Still need to find more pressure from that group, and to me, could come from the younger players. Cameron James, few snaps last year, and also true freshman LJ McCray. These guys may be more talented as far as the pass rush from this group goes. Florida feels good about this F spot. That allowed them to move Kelby Collins. He was moved away from that spot back in the springtime. Brian Taylor will also slide to defensive end now. So at the jack part of edge, let's move there. You got TJ Searcy. He played in all 12 games last season. Looks to be more of a 3-down player this year. But you have some numbers behind him, but nothing proven. George Gums, Jack Pyburn, Quincy Ivory, Jamarcus Weston. There'll be options at the position, but there is a lot to prove, even at the top with Searcy. In replacing Princely Human Mielen, his pressures, his sacks, was about the only guy who could consistently do it. Even as inconsistent as his play was, he was the only consistent pressure in the backfield. So, as we said, a 3-down player for somebody like TJ Searcy. Can he become a more consistent player as far as getting pressure on a quarterback, but also doing his assignment in the run game? Not leaving massive holes up front. But behind him, a lot of questions, and this is probably the group I question the most on the team right now. I think there's a lot to like about TJ Searcy. Gums, they love his athleticism, but taking a look there, hardly any experience. Now, defensive end, got a ton. Or if we move up here to the defensive line, we'll start at defensive end, but Caleb Banks, his second season with the program, that should help. Joey Slackman comes in as one of the top transfer defensive linemen. Now Kelby Collins is in the group. Talk about competition. I really like it in this group. This group is made up well for that. I think it has a pretty good baseline to start with. Collins, to me, he'll insert himself a lot into the rotation, giving Florida 3 guys here that should really help each other. And I know many expected Slackman to come in the spring and take over for Banks, but Banks held him off in the spring. To me, sets up a really nice competition, a really nice battle in fall camp. And it may take some time for Collins to adjust to the role inside, but I think his talent will win out in the long run. He'll get a whole lot of snaps coming up this year. More on him later. So let's move inside along the defensive front. You got Cam Jackson, Dez Watson, Jamari Lyons, all return. And hopefully that group takes the necessary steps in creating more havoc in the middle. But man, there's a lot of competition there too. Jamari Lyons, don't be surprised to start seeing him play a ton of snaps there too. Getting faster is the focus of that group. It's a group that is deep with experience. Now Gerald Chapman steps in. He needs to get the best out of them. Let's move one level back. Now linebacker, a lot of competition there too. May not be deeper with experience, but deeper with talent. Shamar James in year 3, there's going to be an improvement there. And I think the improvement's going to be because he's got more help around him. Derek Wingo will bring a veteran presence. If he can stay healthy, I do think he can be a contributor. He's just played hurt so much the last couple of years. But the overall talent of Pup Howard, Miles Graham, Aaron Childs, the new faces in that group will eventually win out. I don't want to overlook Jaden Robinson and RJ Moten either, but the group will reach a higher ceiling with the new faces also contributing. A lot of competition in new faces in that group. I mean, Moten's a new face in that group as well since he's switching positions. So a lot more competition in that group, a lot more true linebackers in that group really help. Really help. Let's go to corner. Starting roles are solidified with Marshall and Moore, but behind them, more, I think, great battles. Jakeem Jackson, Dijon Johnson, Jameer Grimsley, Cormani McClain, all highly rated recruits at the cornerback spot. A lot of high-level talent there. And while Jackson and Johnson could be the starting duo next season, who's going to push for snaps at that third cornerback spot this season? Great battle to have heading into camp. Well, let's not forget, one of those guys could be counted on even more if Moore can't stay healthy. If Devin Moore can't stay healthy, this may be a spot, this may be a battle for cornerback too, opposite Jason Marshall. Or if he gets hurt too. There's a lot of depth here, a great position to be in with 2 guaranteed starters and some great battles behind those guys. One position where Florida has much more proven depth, much more competition than last season, is safety. Jordan Castell in his second year. Many snaps in this defense. Asa Turner joins him as the probable starters in the backfield. A lot of snaps played at Washington for him. Can he stay healthy as well? And then depth and competition with DJ Douglas impressing in the spring. Triquez Bridges coming through the portal. Bryce Thornton, of course, who played a lot of snaps last season, adds even more experience to this defense. And in this defense, a lot of competition in that group. I think that should help shore up the bad safety play we saw at times last year. Ooh. Thought I had a sneeze there. All right, so here we go. Overall, there aren't many surprises on this team regarding position battles, I don't think. Just went through, there are some battles, I don't think there's going to be any huge surprises out of it. And that can be a good thing. You know, with so many young players getting experience in their first years last season, Florida now has much more depth than before. And you can see where the depth is creating competition. Running back 2, receivers 4 through 8, backups along the offensive line. Depth will go a long way in the rotation and competition along the defensive front. Young faces at linebacker, backup cornerbacks, and safeties have a ton of bodies for competition. competition should make this team better. I do think this is a team with more talent on this team to compete this season. Can the coaching get them there? But I do think there is more. This team, I think if you line them up against last year's team, they should win that ball game. As we're thinking outside the box here, match up 2024 Florida against 2023 Florida. This team should win that game because of more bodies, more experienced bodies, all that relating to competition. So, yeah, I really do. I really do think there's more depth, more competition that should lend itself to a better team. How many wins does that equal? Hard to know. Hard to know. So what you guys think? Do you agree that Florida is a deeper team this season? What am I missing here? Am I overlooking something? Are there more questions in a position group that I didn't hit on that you guys have? Let me know. Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Keep the conversation going on Discord, all the chats we have there, so extra episodes that will be available in the fall that you can't find anywhere else. Right there, Gators Breakdown Plus. And also, hey, about a month until kickoff. Get your Beat Miami shirt, gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. New designs up there as well to get, to support us right here in what we're doing on Gators Breakdown. But of course, I want to show that support for beating those Miami Hurricanes.